This is Jim Fetzer, your host on The Real Deal, with a special video interview with Kevin Barrett, the co-founder actually, of Muslims for 9/11 Truth. Kevin, tell us about your society.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Last year, Dr. A.K. Dudney, whose Muslim name is Khalil, and who's also known as Key, contacted me and said that, Kevin, we Muslims really have to get on the stick here with the 9/11 Truth movement. Right now, Muslims are just not very prominent in the 9/11 Truth movement, and the world's Islamic community is not doing a whole lot to challenge the official story of 9/11 and the official narrative of the so-called War on Terror. So Khalil Dudney and I sat down, and he wrote out a letter. He's the main author of the letter, which we then sent to hundreds, perhaps a little over 1,000 mosques and Islamic organizations worldwide. We also started Muslims for 9/11 Truth, and just this year we put together an advisory board consisting of Dr. Dudney and myself, along with Dr. Faz Khan, the original Muslim 9/11 Truther. Enver Masood, of the Wisdom Fund in Washington, D.C., the author of The War on Islam and 9/11 Unveiled. Saad Ali of We Are Change Chicago, which is a fantastic group of young people who are out there challenging politicians and other dissemblers and putting the results on YouTube. And last but not least, Mohammed Abdullah of Pomona, California, a Marine Corps vet who has been really pounding the pavement and getting out there doing first-person, upfront, real live 9/11 Truth activism on a regular basis for years, to the point that the police department tried to get him off the streets with a restraining order. They failed, and they had to bring in Homeland Security, which raided his house and frog-marched him outdoors in his underwear and grilled him on his politics, stole his computer, and still hasn't given it back, last I heard. So he's really put it on the line for 9/11 Truth. And anyway, that's our advisory board, and we're hoping to get more active next year.
Well, that's a splendid board, Kevin, and as a former Marine Corps officer, I am certainly in solidarity with Mohammed Abdullah and his efforts to bring about greater awareness of the libel committed against Islam by the official account of 9/11.
Indeed. He served his country in the Marine Corps, and watching his own military be complicit in this butchery at the World Trade Center, I think really was something that he just couldn't live with. And a lot of people do feel that way, and we just need to find a way of channeling that into productive change.
Now, Kevin, I understand your new book, Questioning the War on Terror, is proving to be very successful in making a difference out there.
It's doing well. The first print run just sold out in about 6 months, and we've got a whole new updated second edition coming out, shipping in late March. I think this book has been very effective because it's targeting a particular audience, which is people who voted for Obama. There are about 60 million Americans who voted for Obama, and then countless tens of millions, or perhaps hundreds of millions, of Obama supporters worldwide. These people voted for Obama or support Obama because they thought he was the peace candidate who would shut down the war on terror, shut down Guantanamo, and bring the U.S. back to constitutional rule, and maybe cut the military budget and help out the economy. And of course, none of that has happened. So the Obama supporters are scratching their heads wondering what's up. My book can help move them to the next level of awareness of these issues and help mobilize them to challenge Obama and challenge the Democratic Party and move Obama and the Democratic Party towards a position where they might actually do something positive for once, which would be nice.
I must concede, Kevin, that I'm in your target audience because I believe when Obama came into office, he would repeal the Patriot Act, rescind the Military Commissions Act, close Guantanamo, get our forces out of Iraq and Afghanistan. That's not the way it's played out.
Certainly not. Obama has given us the most bloated military budget since World War II. He's actually outspending Bush, and he's outspending all of those Cold War budgets. He has upped the troop level in combined totals of official troops in Afghanistan and Iraq are about 40,000 greater than Bush's highest number, which is an outrage. And he's saying that he has the right to kill Americans extrajudicially around the world. if he labels them terrorists, which is the sort of thing that Bush said, and we all called Bush crazy and a maniac. Well, now Obama's saying the same thing. So I think Obama supporters really need to wake up and demand the change that they voted for.
Well, Kevin, I think it's excellent that you're raising these issues. I mean, even from scratch, it was outrageous that Iraq, for example, or even Afghanistan should have been targeted by the Bush administration in relation to 9/11, when of the 19 alleged Islamic terrorists, 15 were from Saudi Arabia officially and none from Iraq. The number was 0.
Well, that's right. But as you know, Jim, the American people are not very particular in their views of these matters. They tend to sort of lump people together, and they see things in general, vague, emotional terms. So the average Americans were unfortunately mobilized for a war against any funny-sounding names, Muslim-sounding names, sort of brown-skinned people over there in the Middle East somewhere, and so Saudi hijackers, Iraqi hijackers, whatever, it probably didn't really matter from the perspective of the people who planned the 9/11 inside job.
As you know, Kevin, but as many Americans do not, Elias Davidson, Davidsson, has established that the government has never actually been able to produce proof that any of these alleged hijackers were aboard any of these alleged planes.
Elias Davidson's work is marvelous. He's one of my favorite people in the 9/11 Truth Movement. And that's right. He's pointed out that if those 19 guys were actually on those planes, we should have seen the boarding surveillance videos. We should have seen passenger lists, official passenger lists. We should have seen ticket stubs, and we should have seen interviews with the employees who ticketed and boarded these guys. None of that was ever forthcoming. Even though, had our government wanted to accuse these guys, they should have put that evidence forward on day one, on 9/11 or 9/12 or whenever it was that they accused those guys. We should have seen that evidence. The fact that we didn't shows that almost certainly it doesn't exist.
Well, it appears to me that Muslims for 9/11 Truth should be among the most prominent of all the 9/11 groups, because while we have many, including scholars for 9/11 Truth, architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth, pilots for 9/11 Truth, your organization particularly directly confronts the libel against Islam committed by the official account of these atrocities.
Well, I think the entire 9/11 Truth Movement confronts that libel, but many people in the movement are not aware that, or at least they're not thinking of that as the first aspect of what they're doing. And I wish they would. I wish they would stop and think for a minute that this 9/11 inside job did libel an entire religion and set the stage for centuries more of religious warfare, which is something that we just don't need in this age of WMD.
Kevin, I have the impression that the movement is gaining in strength and in depth and in breadth, and that for those who would like to know more, visiting patriotsquestion911.com is a very good move to make, as well as, of course, websites like yours at Muslims for 9/11 Truth.
Yes, that's right. There are all sorts of good resources on the web. I think the books of Dr. David Ray Griffin taken together are perhaps the greatest resource, especially for the people who go to books first rather than videos. The architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth and pilots for 9/11 Truth have done a great job too.
I'd just like to mention that there's a website that happens to feature your book and the efforts that you are exerting here to bring the truth about these matters, not just to the American people, but actually to the world, at religionandmorality.net. This is maintained by Declan and Lola Heavey, who are an admirable pair in London, doing all they can to find the truth and disseminate the truth about 9/11 and other worthy issues.
Well, here's a shout out to Declan and Lola, who, despite their skepticism about organized religion, are very much committed to giving the world's Muslims a fair shake by challenging the official version of 9/11. So good for them. More power to them.
Kevin, I just can't thank you enough. I know you have a radio show. I am looking forward to being your guest and to having you as my guest, and I'm just very impressed with all of your efforts, and I want to tell you how much I and others appreciate what you're doing.
Thanks, Jim. Likewise. Look forward to talking to you on my show tomorrow.
Everyone who wants to learn more, just enter into your Google search Muslims for 9/11 Truth or religionandmorality.net. This is Jim Fetzer, your host. Thank you.